Have you ever wondered what has happened to the United States and its once vibrant culture? Have you ever wondered why a virtuous American culture has been in decay for over 60 to 70 years? The book Deus Ex Machina, God from the Machine, explains how foreign belief systems have been imported into the United States by foreign intellectual agents to be used to fundamentally transform the most prosperous and free nation in the world into a typical third world country. Learn how the progressive academics, progressive activists, large corporations, and the mainstream media have become appendages of the federal government, a Praetorian Guard, and an extension of the political vanguard class. Deus Ex Machina exposes the cogs of the machine that progresses our civil society to chaos and subjugation. Get this tool to educate others and illuminate the truth on the battlefield of ideas. Let's make a difference. Get Deus Ex Machina, the progression of secular socialism, from Amazon.com and Lulu.com today.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Are you getting a TV picture now, Houston? Neil, yes, we are getting a TV picture. You're in our field with you now. Okay, ready for me to come out? All set. Okay, I'm on the top step. It's a very simple matter to hop down from one step to the next. You get 3 more steps and then along them. Okay, I'm going to leave that 1 foot up there and both hands down about the 4th rung up.
Roger that. 10 miles is back on my nose. Watch when it can.
And we say to our nation tonight, we say to our government, we even say to our FBI, we will not be harassed. We will not make a butchery of our conscience. We will not be intimidated, and we will be heard.
Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lanterns Media Network. How y'all are? That's the way we say it down here in New Orleans. Thank you for joining us on the battlefield. We got a very great show lined up for you tonight. And, man, I had to take last Wednesday off. Something came up, and so I apologize for not being there. It was last minute, kind of an emergency. And the one and only Susan Swift was on vacation. So she's back tonight on the battlefield with me, and we are going to roll out some things here. And I want to go down memory road a little bit, and it's probably bad memory road, nightmarish in a sense. But I want to tie this all into what we're seeing right now in Congress with the fight over Obamacare, healthcare, single payer, which is on the horizon. And so we're going to talk about the overarching issue that we have here. And we can try to blame Republicans, Democrats. You know, some of y'all might be trying to blame Trump. That's fine. We're gonna get down to the root of the issue tonight, and I want you to join me on the battlefield. And right now, we are live on the Liberty Eagle as well as Lanterns Buzz. You can check us out, the Liberty Eagle on Facebook, Facebook Live, as well as Lanterns Buzz, Facebook Live. Check us out there. Look, folks, I can tell you this, and I've been working with a lot of different people, including our friends over at the Liberty Eagle, as well as our group at Lanterns. We've noticed that all of our shares have been stable, but we're getting a lot less views, and we believe that, well, we believe we're getting silenced in some cases by social media. So do your part. Let's get this out there. Share it to as many people. We go live now on the battlefield. Chris Pilier, Susan Swift, Battlefield Live, Chris Pilier, Lantern Media Network. We'll be right back after the short break.
We're here to fix the machine.
Battlefield Live. You're listening to the Battlefield Live with Chris Pilier from Lanterns Media Network, the Battlefield Live radio program. Want to thank you for joining us on the battlefield today. We have a great battlefield lined up for you tonight. Grab your axes and bows and your swords. Hey, if y'all watch Game of Thrones, I'm a Game of Thrones fan, if you will. Well, the battlefield tonight is going to be somewhat a swashbuckling environment for all of us. But we have to wade through all the BS. We have to wade through all the fake news. We have to get through all of that junk to get down to brass tags. And the bottom line is that we have to talk about the role of government. So with that said, I want to bring on our friend Susan Swift. And there you are, Susan. How you doing, Susan? What you got there?
I'm great. I am blessed and highly favored, Chris, and I've got my Lanterns mug of wine.
Amen
Hashtag
to
mug
that.
of wine.
How did you get that, by the way?
I asked your lovely wife, Angie, to make me one, and I also signed up on Patreon.
Well,
so by helping out at Patreon, I got a mug because I really wanted a mug.
So
So you can go on Patreon. Everybody go on Patreon. You can get a mug.
So it's my sister Angie, and only in some of the
sorry.
third world countries could I be allowed to marry her. But my wife Barbara would surely
Sorry,
let.
Barbara.
I wish
Okay,
she can
Angie.
make mugs of wine. Maybe we'll drink an
I love
extra
what
glass
she did.
tonight.
Look at I mean, it's handcrafted. She had a little card in there, and it's all handcrafted. This is all hand done, and it's orange. You know, orange is the new black. You know, right there.
Yeah,
It's a Trump mug.
Angie does a fantastic. You see, we've redone the studio with the orange because orange is the new black, and we're not talking about racial stuff here, folks. I know there's some libs that may be tuning in. Hopefully, they'll learn a little bit.
Oh,
But
that's okay. They need to just gird their loins, baby, because we're on the battlefield and it's orange.
So, folks, if you go to our Patreon, patreon.com/lanterns, you can actually, I think it's $20 a month. You'll get that mug as well as a bunch of other things. But so Susan, you're on vacation, out traveling the world and glamour, all the glamour that you were revealing on the world.
Camping. We were camping with 7 children in an extended white Chevy van. We were looking like a small religious cult, let me tell you what. All right, and we have so much gear packed into this van that you can't see out the back. Okay, you have to use your side mirrors because there's no back to see it. And we've got all the kids, that we have 3 rows and they're all just, smashed in together. And it used to work when they were very little. Now that they're all getting bigger, it was a tense ride, let me tell you. So we had a lot of interesting experiences, and we saw 6 national parks. We went to 6 national parks and we camped several nights. And one night we got rained on so heavily, and the kids had set up the tent. And okay, if all of you liberal city people, just tune out because you wouldn't understand what I'm saying anyway. But when you set up a tent, you need to have the tent so that the water would drain off and go onto the ground. If you put down a tarp on the ground, if the tarp extends out beyond the edge of the tent, what it does is it catches the rainwater and it brings it right on in, and then it kind of absorbs up into the tent. Well, that's what happened at about 2 in the morning. We all woke up with wet tent.
Wet tent, huh? Well,
oh, yeah, soaking wet, sleeping bags and the whole thing. And so it took, we woke up in the morning and took 2 hours to pack up in the rain. It was quite the event. It was very funny. We made memories.
That's what's important.
Memories, and that was the point.
That's what's important. So we're going to talk about memories, and we're going to talk about a religious cult called progressivism or progressives tonight, since you brought it up. And this is how I want to start off this, Susan. I really want to get into the whole issue that we have here, I know there's a lot of people out there focused on politicians. They're focused on the GOP or the Democrats and all. That's fine and well. But when we find out what these groups stand for is really when we find where the problem is. Because what they stand for is the problem, not the carcass that is the container, if you will, of all these people that have no damn principles. It's actually the people inside and the principles that they lack, or the principles that they hold that are obtuse to the American system. So, in the American principle. So
yes,
what
communist principles and socialist principles. Some of them hold that in their heart. The others just want to hold personal power. That would be the establishment rhinos. That's what they do, and we don't have a party representing us anymore. Conservatives. So we have to fight, and we have to get that party back.
So I want to travel over to the campground called YouTube, and there's a video here from Barack Obama back in 2000 sometime frame. And the reason why I want to play this, and I know it's going to be like the waterboarding section of the Battlefield Live,
I was just going to say we're going into waterboarding torture.
Yes.
Here's the waterboarding.
Hey,
this is how you could waterboard a conservative. You play Obama tapes over and over.
That's right. Hey, it's the battlefield, and sometimes on the battlefield you got to get waterboarded before you go to battle, right? So this particular audio, some of you all may be aware of this. I want to break this audio down into its pieces and understand. Barack Obama, number one, is a very, very intelligent person. He's very articulate, so he's able to say what he needs to say to the people that understand what he's saying, and a lot of the people that may not understand the nuance of his ideology and the things that he talk about, they'll listen to this and they'll just kind of glaze over, and then but the people that he's really, really tuning into will understand exactly what he's talking about. So this is about Obama talking about the Constitution, specifically the Civil Rights era under the Warren Court, and I want to play this, and let's break it apart. So listen to this, folks. Check this out.
If you look at the victories and failures of the Civil Rights Movement and its litigation strategy in the court, I think where it succeeded was to vest formal rights in previously dispossessed peoples, so that I would now have the right to vote. I would now be able to sit at a lunch counter and order, and as long as I could pay for it, I'd be okay. But the Supreme Court never ventured into the issues of redistribution of wealth and sort of more basic issues of political and economic justice in the society. And to that extent, as radical as I think people tried to characterize the Warren Court, it wasn't that radical. It didn't break free from the essential constraints that were placed by the Founding Fathers in the Constitution, at least as it's been interpreted, and Warren Court interpreted it in the same way, that generally the Constitution is a charter of negative liberties, says what the states can't do to you, says what the federal government can't do to you, but it doesn't say what the federal government or the state government must do on your behalf.
Okay, so I want to break that apart, and then I want to explain where he's going with this. And he's absolutely right here, okay? The Constitution is a charter, and I hate to call it like this, but to understand where he's going, he's saying it's a charter of negative liberties. In a sense, it is, to the government. It doesn't provide liberty to the government. It provides and protects liberty of the people, not provide. And that's very important.
It puts restrictions on the government. It limits the government. If you take away one thing from what our Constitution is two words: limited government. That's why ideologues like Barack Obama don't like the Constitution, because it limits their power over us.
Yes, and it's progressives generally, right? Because so when you say that it's a charter of negative liberties, and the Warren Court went along with the idea that the government is not supposed to provide wealth, redistribution of wealth, things like that. It's not supposed to do those things. That is a correct interpretation of the Constitution. Now, what Barack Obama is saying is that a lot of people characterize the Warren Court as radical, but it wasn't that radical. It could have been much more radical if it pushed beyond the barriers that have been basically enshrined or encapsulated our government in this realm of restrictions, if you will. So I want to listen to a little bit more where he goes from here. Now, listen to what he says here, because he tells you what he thinks of the Constitution in this one sense. Check this out.
And that hasn't shifted. And one of the, I think, The tragedies of the civil rights movement was because the civil rights movement became so court-focused. I think that there was a tendency to lose track of the political and community organizing and activities on the ground that are able to put together the actual coalitions of power through which you bring about redistributive change.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. There's two pieces there. Number one, it became court-focused. So what he's saying is that instead of the coalitions of power, I want you to remember that, the coalitions of power on the ground, instead of those people pushing for quote-unquote redistributive change, it became court-focused. So the court followed the guidelines in the Constitution and wasn't pressed, and the government wasn't pressed, politicians weren't pressed, powers that be, the establishment, if you will, was not pressed by the coalitions of power. Now, what is he talking about, the coalitions of power? Well, we all know that he's an Alinskyite. We all know that he learned from Saul Alinsky how to take power from the haves and give to the have-nots. You've heard this as well from people like Lenin and Stalin.
Lenin, yeah.
And most importantly,
they're all the same. They're
right.
Communists. They
Right.
believe in the government should control everything and that they will take care of you properly.
That's right. And so what the bottom line here is the coalitions of power. We are seeing these coalitions of power. We don't look at it like we see them as miscreants, people that are just annoying and they're stupid. Some people, they get all into the name calling, they're stupid liberals or whatever. Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, all of those groups, CARE, those are coalitions of power. And the coalitions of power are being built up. They're being built up with your tax dollars, and they're being given tax dollars to rise up in order to push for what he's calling for redistributive change, because the Warren Court was a tragedy in his mind. So while this sounds crazy and radical, folks, guess what? Your Republican Party, all of you Republicans out there, I'm one, all of you Republicans out there, your Republican Party follow the same guidelines as this, because they utilized the Tea Party to get their power, and when they went into office, they used that coalition of power in order to push redistributive change, not because of the will of the Tea Partiers, but because of the will of their power brokers, their establishment, and they did that through John McCain, the other female that ran in the race last, Lindsey Graham, all these people.
If you guys haven't heard that's a reference to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's, she's 80-something and she's the Supreme Court, chick. And she's so confused that she doesn't know that Lindsey Graham is a guy, and she's referred to him as that other woman. So she's out of it, poor thing. It's time for her to step aside and retire. She will not, of course, because as long as Donald Trump or Mike Pence lives and breathes in the White House, she will never, ever retire. She's going to try to outlive them. So more power to her, right? She's got 8 years, 7 years.
Well, you got to ease up on the gender pronouns here. We get real sensitive in this new current age here.
Are you assuming my gender? We've assumed Lindsey Graham's gender.
Yeah, well,
I think he should be righteously upset at Justice Ginsburg. She assumed his gender.
I think he's culturally appropriating women by using a woman's name and also acting like a woman in Congress. Just saying. So. All right, folks. Look, we're gonna take a break, folks.
Chris, thank you.
We're gonna take a break, folks, and we get back on the Battlefield Live with Susan and Chris. We're gonna dig a little bit more into this. Stick with us. We'll be right back after the short break.
Lanterns, illuminating the truth.
People often ask me, they say, Chris, how is it that we can change the minds of many in this country? And I say, well, you first don't start with the mind. You have to start with the heart. You don't change minds without changing hearts. And that's what we're going to do. It wasn't that long ago that you might have not have had hope for the country, and all of a sudden you have a change of heart. Well, expect that other people right now feel the same way that you used to. It's those people that we have to reach out to. It may be you that we have to reach out to. So it's our task to form a community, a group, unified behind principles, unified behind what has made America the country that it is now. It's about liberty. It's about freedom. And everybody wants to experience this. We just have to show them how. It's about you being a lantern shining out the light of truth. And we can bring this all together in one place. It's truly about the shining city on the hill. Hope is not in the hands of someone else. It's within ourselves. It's within our hearts. It's within our minds. And it's about utilizing those things in order to be able to make us free.
Lanterns illuminating the truth. Battlefield Live.
How y'all doing, folks? Welcome to the Battlefield Live radio program. Thank you for sticking with us. We've got a great show still to come, and we're going to shift some gears a little bit here. But first, before we do that, I want to make sure, if you haven't yet, make sure if you are watching us right now on Facebook Live on Lanterns Buzz, that you do that thing that you have to do is make sure you like it and share it. Also, if you're not a friend or a follower, if you will, of the Liberty Eagle from Lanterns Buzz, go over there. Go to the Liberty Eagle on Facebook. Make sure you like that page. A lot of great patriots there. Also, if you're on the Liberty Eagle and you want to follow us more than just this particular program, but not only some of our compatriots, if you will, a lot of great patriots on Lanterns Buzz. That particular website as well is at lanterns.buzz. Also, you can check out our podcast. You can see it or listen to it rather. You can listen to it at iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, and SoundCloud, as well as Spreaker. And you can find it on, of course, YouTube. You can follow me at Paul Revere again, and you can follow the one and only Susan Swift. Where can they find you, Susan?
They can find me on social media at Real Susan Swift. You can also find me on my website, susanswift.net.
Awesome sauce. So look, I want to do this, Susan. I want to jump right into actually, before I do that, I want to mention something here, because I've been working with a number of people in social media. Not only the Liberty Eagle, Lanterns Buzz, we have thousands and thousands, most likely hundreds of thousands of people that follow our organization, Lanterns, in a number of different locations, including our friends over at Red Nation Rising, the Liberty Eagle, and others. And I've had some communication over the last couple of weeks about the traffic that we've been seeing. Our traffic has dropped significantly across the board, all across the board, right? We got a little bit vacations and but you're right. We believe that in some cases we're being throttled by Facebook. Look, Facebook
is Pamela Geller, just like conservative firing line. There are conservatives out there who are being absolutely pressured, and their pages are being destroyed because of Facebook.
That's right.
There's actually a lawsuit underway by Pamela Geller seeking to stop this. So that's coming. She just filed it, I think, July 13th. So that's coming because Facebook has gotten so big. It is the marketplace, and she's going to try to hold them accountable for the First Amendment, actually.
And all
even though
the,
it's private.
I'm hoping that she can actually break some ground here and convince some other people. At the end of the day, and the way I look at this is Facebook, Twitter, these are private organizations outside of the stock market. Obviously, you can go buy shares in Facebook and things like that. But these are organizations that are not government, utilities and things like that. At least at this point, they're not. And if they want to screw us over because they don't like our views, well, that's fine. We'll go elsewhere. But I can tell you this. You may be able to get this video on Facebook and YouTube and all these other places, but one day you may not. So make sure you build your alliances. Build your alliances with people like the people that are on Lanterns, people like the Liberty Eagle, those folks, their websites and things like that. You can follow us at lanterns.buzz, subscribe, and just stay tuned in to us there. I'm not saying don't pay attention to Facebook by all means, but just keep that in mind that one day.
You got to do your opposition research. You got to listen to Facebook because that's where a lot of these people go to,
Yeah.
live and talk about their views.
So
it's kind of, but it's not the only place. You gotta know where you're going to get the news, like Drudge and like Lanterns, places like that. Because if Facebook keeps shutting down our pages, how are we going to? If you're just going through Facebook, if that's your only conduit, then you're not going to be able to get what you want because
That's
Facebook
right.
won't allow it.
So let's make our voice be heard, and so I want to shift gears here a little bit. I want to in the first segment of the show we talked about the proper role of government. The government is not supposed to be a provider of rights, or what Barack Obama said, a administrator of positive rights to the government. The government is supposed to basically protect our rights. That is it. It is not supposed to provide health care. It's not supposed to be able to provide welfare. It's not supposed to be all these different things that they're supposedly giving us, a little box of goodies and all that. And the reason why is because the government's sole role is to protect the rights of the people, because government at its truest and purest form is force. And so if you unleash that force because you've given it the ability to do things for people or on their behalf, you all of a sudden create a tyrannical environment, and we have to prevent that.
All government is that way. All government is that way. I mean, if you look at what is a government is control of people. That's what all governments are. It is a centralized form of control over all of the people who live in a given area. I don't care if it's a local village, a tribe, a city, a county. That is what government does. The problem is we want limited government. We want as little government as possible. That's why the federal government is supposed to be limited. The state government, where we can participate much more directly, that's where more power should be directed, and less at the federal government. Because the federal, how many of us have even been to D.C., much less, talked to a real congressman face to face? That's the point of the Constitution. That's why the founders said it was so important to limit the government with the Declaration of Independence, with this Constitution. That's what's in people who want to extend that control, that government power over every aspect of our lives. That's what Democrats like to do. That's just they're because of their ideology. It's not a D or an R. That doesn't matter. It's the ideology. If I know best, it's like mom. I know best, honey. You need to do this. And that's Hillary Clinton for you.
So and you said the Democrats, and you're absolutely right, because to me the Democratic Party, in unison, lockstep, the fan dances and all that stuff, all of this is them trying to provide rights to us. But on the same token, we got people like John McCain, all these others that say, well, we can't just throw people on the street. We can't, just close the border to poor people. We have to provide them welfare and shelter and all these different things. Next thing we got to provide them transportation. We got to provide them housing. Wait a second here. You start providing people all this stuff. First of all, where the hell are you going to get the money from? And secondly,
out of my back pocket and your back pocket.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
If you're a government agency and you're able to provide rights to people, will you have that ability to take those rights back? And at what point do your votes go to protecting the rights the government has provided for you? So I want to do this. I want to play a clip here from the statists of the union over there at CNN. The statists of the the statists of the union over there at CNN, and I want it. So it's Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper's interviewing the old red Gorbachev. Sanders, Bernie Sanders, and I want to listen to
Bernie.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have health care. We'll all have it. It'll be wonderful. It'll be great. That's
Yes.
health care.
You do that actually pretty well. It's kind of scary, I guess, isn't it?
I just need the fuzzy white hair.
Yeah.
And rolling up. I can do the eyes.
You need to put some goofy glasses on. Now, so you did that, and you got to be careful. They'll get stuck like that, and you look like Nancy Pelosi. You got
That's
ping
right,
pong
that's what
balls poking out of your
gosh.
face.
Yeah.
Just saying. Remember your mom said when you were a kid, don't do that because it'll get stuck. So, all right. So I want to play this audio. I want y'all to check this out. This is Jake Tapper, CNN, interviewing the one and only socialist Soviet Union member of the United States Congress. Check it out, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders of the great state of Vermont. Senator Sanders, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's just plunge right into healthcare. President Trump threatening on Twitter both lawmakers and insurance companies on Saturday, saying he's prepared to cut off the quote bailouts that you and the insurance companies receive. What do you make of these threats?
You know, I really think it's incomprehensible that we have a president of the United States who wants to sabotage healthcare in America, make life more difficult for millions of people who are struggling now to get the health insurance they need and to pay for that health insurance. Maybe the president should put down his, stop his tweeting for a while, and understand that America today is the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, and the solution is not to throw tens of millions of people off of health insurance that they currently have.
Okay, so before I go any further, is it just me, or do we need to see? I think it should be a requirement that when Bernie Sanders goes on these television shows that he ought to be eating cream of wheat, and in the very beginning do some type of, I don't know, some type of commercial for cream of wheat, because he sounds like he's got cream of wheat in his mouth when he's talking. Like, I just don't understand.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yes, it's like clean it out.
I don't eat cream of wheat. It is not approved by the USSR. It is not approved food.
The state of the Soviet Union, and that's basically what we're seeing here. Because if you heard what Bernie said, so the good old Colonel Sanders, basically he said, you know, with all the fried chicken involved, is that the Republicans, or Trump rather, are standing in the way of government, well, that too, but standing in the way of Obamacare and health care being provided to the people, right? So as if they're going to be able to administer health care.
That's exactly right. You got it, Bernie.
Yeah. So and it's funny because what he wants is a single payer system, much like the veterinary or the veteran system, right? Which is the VA. The veteran system is horrible. We see the waiting that we have for our veterans. The people that need the care the most get the least care. That is a single payer, if you will. Actually, it's just a nationalized healthcare system that nobody has to pay for. So everybody's got to pay for that. We have, and I'm okay with paying for the veterans, but the bottom line is by paying for the veterans in the way that we do, they get the worst health care that they could possibly get because the government runs it. And what's so interesting here is that he's saying that we're standing in the way of
get care.
Yeah, we're standing in the way of health care. Under his health care bill.
Government is standing in the way of health care. Government is.
Yes.
I don't need government to get health care. I can go and pick my own doctor and pay for it or set anything else up. What they're trying to do, they create this straw man argument that says because the cost is so high, we have to come in and get the cost to come down. It is because of government regulations and government control that the cost has been driven up over 60 years since Ted Kennedy started it in the House. Ted Kennedy, the lion of the Senate, he was the guy who started all the HMO business in the first place. And that's what has driven up costs, because it's just like college. If you've got the government paying for something, the college or the medical facility, they don't have to really check their costs. They just have to submit their bill and it gets paid. So government is the reason why I can't afford insurance, because of government interference with the relationship between me and my doctor.
So to having affordable health care, it is the government that's standing in the way. So Bernie Sanders here is basically saying that, well, we just haven't done socialism right yet. We just need to do a little bit more of it. And so let's play.
We need more money to do it better.
Let's play a little bit more of this goofball. Check this out.
What do you make of the threats directly at members of Congress about your health insurance? Mick Mulvaney was on the show earlier trying to explain what the threat exactly meant.
Well, I would turn that around a little bit and say to the President of the United States that, yes, every single American in every state in this country should be able to get the health care that members of Congress have. And that is why, if we are able to return to regular order, if we are able to have a serious debate on the health care crisis, I think there should be a public option available in every state in this country.
So there's the key there. So the public option, folks, otherwise known as socialized medicine, where the public, you and me, pay for health care for other people, and the government is the provider of that health care, which the government is basically providing a right to health care. So if you are providing a right to health care, you have to take the rights of you and me and all the other quote-unquote real evil rich people out there that are able to spend, $3,000-$4,000 to buy health care every 6 months or whatever that it costs now, that it's going up, 80% or whatever it's going up because of Obamacare. But the bottom line is that he's saying that the government has the right, the positive rights, as Barack Obama wished to have, has the positive rights to provide you a right. And when they provide you that right, all they have to do is threaten to take it away. And you're already being threatened if they take it away. What are they doing right now? They are running on the fact that they gave you this beautiful bill they called Obamacare that was going to solve all the problems of the world. Now the evil Republicans want to take your rights away. And so what do? Well, if the smart person says, well, the government doesn't have the right to give me health care, and secondly, they're the reason why prices went up. But the people that are probably a little bit half smart, that don't follow this every day, that are just out doing the things that they wish to do for their family, they're the ones that may not understand that when the Republicans are taking their rights away, well, they don't have those rights to be given in the first place.
But Chris, in my state, the People's Republic of California, 52% of the population of California gets some sort of money from the government. You see, we are living in a country with two very different viewpoints. You and I see it as, look, the government is taking away our money and controlling our rights. A lot of people, almost half, like I said, at least 52% in my state, see government as a river that supplies all of my needs, all of my necessities, my health care, and everything. So these same people, whether they're senior citizens, whether they're on welfare, whether they have some other need that is being filled by the government, whatever it is, whenever they hear anything from CNN fake news, from MSNBC, from Fox, I don't care what, from you and me, when they hear that, well, we want to stop whatever the government program is, what they see is someone's going to take away the river that is supplying me with my life.
Yes.
That is the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is these people, that half of our country believe that it is all right to redistribute wealth from hardworking people and give them to other people for whatever reason. It could be for need. It can be for charity. That's what churches used to do. And
right.
That's fine. There are good reasons to do that. The problem here is they believe it is a right, and they see the government as the source, the sum, the substance, the summit of all rights and benefits in the world.
That's right.
They don't see God. They don't see individual freedom or labor or any. We are talking to people who do not share this common belief that you and I share, that people who are listening share, that we make our own future, that we make our own company. We as individuals chart our own path. That is the American dream. At least 52% in California, maybe it's 48% nationally, I don't really know, but a lot of people believe that the American dream is a government check.
Right.
And when you say, I'm going to trim the budget, everybody goes, oh, I can't do that. They're going to take away my money. Ah!
Well,
and that's the problem.
So the thing is that, and look, all of you over there in California, I know they're probably going to take that wall that they're going to be building hopefully soon on that southern border, that maybe they may take a shortcut up on the east side of California, and hopefully you get out by then. Because
they're talking about getting out. They want Calexit again. They're all excited. They want They want to secede from the union, which is like, what power do you go?
Well, the first wall they need to build between California and the rest of the country is federalism. So the point is that if you all in California, and I know Susan you don't, but all the others in California that support this socialized medicine, if y'all want to experiment with socialized medicine, I could care less if you do that. Just like as I could care less that my neighbor, if he wanted to be a cross-dresser, great, go be a cross-dresser. Just don't make me wear a dress, and don't make me pay for your California health care. Okay? Now, when California health care...
Don't pay for your dresses. You buy your own dresses.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to buy, just you go buy it yourself, and you wear it and prance around in your house with your dress. Just don't make me pay for it or look at it. Exactly.
That's right. And if California health care system fails, what happens is they run to the federal government to get more funding from Medicare and Medicaid and all that crap, and then we end up on the hook for their failed policies, and we don't need that. So this is what I'll do, Susan. I want to take another quick break, and when we come back, I want to jump and listen to one more clip of our wonderful and favorite former president, Barack
I love saying that, by the way.
Obama.
Former President Barack.
Yeah, he was great the day he left office. That's all I got to say there. So folks, let's take a quick break. We're going to be back after this short break on the Battlefield Live radio program. You're listening to Chris Pillier and Susan Swift on Battlefield Live. Check us out in just a moment.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Battlefield Live.
When the federal government that is intended to protect the people grows and grows and grows out of control and spreads across the boundaries that are put on it by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, this is what happens. All of the good intentions that have been put into the NSA and all these different agencies and all these different tentacles of the Leviathan that we call the federal government, they're now being used against us. The good intentions have bled out. Now they become arms of political power. So as the Trump administration's coming in and the Obama administration's going out, the Obama administration used tactics in order to try to undermine and delegitimize Donald Trump. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, whether you're an Obama supporter or not, think about that for a moment. That your tax dollars, your rights that you have given to the government, for the most part, in order to so-called, quote-unquote, protect you from evil terrorists, have been used against you, the American people. And just because you didn't support Trump doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you. Because guess what? The next guy that comes into office, and he's a Democrat or a progressive, what do you think Donald Trump's going to do? If he's got his establishment up there. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but he could, and there's precedent for it. If we don't talk about this right now, and we don't get our federal government in order, this is going to continue. It's only going to get worse.
Lanterns changing hearts to change minds.
Lanterns illuminating the truth.
Welcome back, folks. Chris Pillier from the Lanterns Media Network and the Battlefield Live radio program. Got a great show left for you today. We got about 15, 20 minutes. Great stuff for you coming up. Make sure that you can also follow us on our social media sites. You can follow me at Paul Revere again, and you can follow us as well at Lanterns Buzz. Susan, where can they follow you on social media?
They can follow me at Real Susan Swift on social media, and they can also find me on my website, susanswift.net, susanswift.net.
So there's I see a comment. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the comment, but I want to kind of say this real quick here. And I'm looking at the Liberty Eagle Facebook page. There's a gentleman on there that has mentioned that it's sad that the United States is such a great country, but we don't have health care for all. Except the rich. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the statement here, but let's just use this opportunity to say this. First of all, we do not have a right to health care. No different than I have a right for food. I don't have a right for housing. I don't have a right to a car. I don't have a right to whatever it is that's out there, other than I have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness, not happiness. I don't have the right to be happy. I can choose to be happy, because that's a frame of mind, I think, but I have the right to pursue happiness. So I have the right, if healthcare is going to make me happy, to pursue healthcare. It doesn't mean that somebody has to provide me what I'm pursuing. So if I'm pursuing a home, it doesn't mean that I have to be provided a home. If I want to buy a home and somebody is willing to sell me that home, then I have to be the right to be able to have that free exchange to do that. I do not have the right to take money from you or from somebody else that has a ton of money because I just think I deserve that. That's not where we are at in this country, and that's the problem that we have to fix. And so I want to do this.
It's like what you said. Why is it right to say, well, why can't I just take a house from somebody? Why can't I just say, well, Chris, your house is fabulous. I want to live in Louisiana. I just want to take your house because I have a right to housing. I have a right to health care, which means I demand to see the doctor, or I demand money to be able to afford whatever it is. I have a right to education. These are not rights. These are privileges of living in a civil society. These are not rights.
That's right.
Rights are very, very fundamentally different. They come from your very existence and your from God and the fact of your creation. Rights are not the same thing as privileges. And people now, we've lived in such a cushy, wonderful world for so long that we think that education is a right.
That's right.
It's not. It's a privilege. It's something that someone else had to sacrifice to give you. Either your mama taught you, or your daddy taught you, or they paid to send you somewhere for other people to teach you, or your community got together and sacrificed to create public schools, whatever it is. It is a privilege.
Right.
And you have a responsibility. Same thing with housing. The notion of health care. If a government can mandate a doctor to treat you, why can't they mandate house builders to build you a house?
Right.
And that's going to be the next battlefield is okay, why can't Bernie Sanders say everyone should be in a house?
That's
Whether
right.
it's Section 8 housing, everybody needs Section 8 housing. That way we're all equal.
That's right.
We're all in the same house. And you can't have a fancy house. You can't have a beautiful house on the river. You have to live in this house because that's fair. That's the cuckoo nature of it's the slippery slope. The argument that I have a right to something that you have.
So I want to mention this before we get to this next video. But in order to determine what the value of something is, you have to sacrifice for it. And it may be something that's hard for people to realize. And I want you to think about it like this. I mean, think about all the things that you work very, very hard for in order to be able to achieve, whether it's you're studying to pass a test. That studying time is a sacrifice that you're making. I mean, you can look throughout your entire life, and the value that the things that you achieve are built on the sacrifices that you make. Now, when you take away that sacrifice, all of a sudden you completely devalue the thing that you achieve. And here's a perfect example, and a lot of us have done this, and I don't want to create some kind of crazy idea that there's a stereotype here. But if you go to the inner city, in places where you're talking about Section 8, and you drive by those places when they're first built, they're beautiful. And then all you do is go back there 10 years later, and they look like a dump. Why? It's not because there's a dumpy people that are living there. It's because the people that have been given that place to live, they haven't sacrificed in order to have that home. So they don't value it as much, and they don't take care of it as much. It's not that they're bad people.
Because it's not theirs.
It's not the
they
value
know it's
mechanism.
Not theirs. If you own your own car, if you own your own home, that's why one of the fundamental bedrocks of our government, of our nation, is the private ownership of property.
That's
whether
right.
it's a car or a home or land, whatever it is, it's private, because once you've invested your blood, sweat, and tears, if you've farmed those 40 acres and you've planted and replanted and gone back and weeded and sprayed it for bugs and everything, then you own the product that you have now created over the season. And that's what gives you the right to say, I now can sell this for whatever my price is. But if you give it to somebody and say, well, here's a load of wheat or whatever, they don't value it nearly as much. They don't care because it doesn't really belong to them. It's not theirs. If I can give it to you, I can take it away. Just like the government. If the government can give you health care, if the government can give you a house, it can also take you away. Ask anybody in Section 8 housing. If you don't qualify, if you make $3 more than you're supposed to make, then you're allowed, and you're actually honest, and you're actually working hard, and you're trying to kind of climb up out of the ranks and to get your head above the outhouse, rim, as my dad would say. You're trying to get up out of it. Then the government says, you made too much money, and now we have to take away your housing. Well, then who owns the house?
Right.
The government.
So
do you respect it and clean it and keep it nice? No, of course you don't, because it's not yours. It's not yours.
So check this out, Susan. This is what is amazing to me. And look, reading our founding documents, I learn from them every time I do, and I suggest that all of us do. And constantly go back there, and every time you go, you'll find something. This is something that I thought about very long and hard, because I know where the founders got their principles from, and these are timeless principles, and not their principles. They're timeless principles of nature. Now, this is the thing that really, really amazed me. If you listen to what Jefferson did in the Declaration, he said liberty. The pursuit of he said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that order for a reason. But what's interesting is that comes from two people, but one most importantly, John Locke, where it was actually life, liberty, and property. But property wasn't good enough for Jefferson, and it wasn't for the founders, because they believed that the pursuit of happiness encompassed much more, and the pursuit was put in there because the pursuit is the sacrifice for happiness. So you have the right to pursue and sacrifice for that. And that means failure. You have the right to fail. We're taking away the rights of failure to people. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I've learned much more from my failures than from my success. The success
so
is
Thomas Edison.
Yes.
He failed thousands of times, and we have the light bulb.
Yes.
And if you fail and you pick yourself up and you keep going, you say, well, I know one more way not to do that.
Right.
I am going to succeed in a different way. And you're right. The pursuit, that itself is, okay, am I going to go to college or not? Am I going to go on to graduate school or not? Am I going to put in 80-hour work weeks or not? Your pursuit of your happiness. You can sit on a beach, drinking rum, and that can be your pursuit of happiness, and no one should deny you that. That's okay.
Right.
But if you really want to put in 80-hour weeks so that you can then, own a section of the beach, okay. But that's the pursuit. That is the pursuit of happiness, is what you do with your life.
That's
what
right.
You choose to do with your life.
That's right. And the
not
reward
the
reward is not only the sacrifices that you make that build the value of what you attain or receive from that sacrifice, but it's that whole process. How many people that are avid car builders, that build these magnificent, beautiful vehicles, and as soon as they finish, they sell it and do another one? It's the pursuit that's important. And look, so I want to do this. I want to preface this video, Susan. This is a really important video, I think. And look, it is an Obama video, so y'all brace yourselves. Get you get you a mug of wine. Get yourself.
Got my mug of wine. We're ready for Obama.
So this is my question to you: what is the main purpose of a corporation or a business, or you as a person that goes to work every day? What is your purpose in doing that? I'm not talking about what you do.
Make money. Make money.
Profit.
Live your life. Make your money.
Profit. That is the number one purpose, because that is the reward from the sacrifice, and we ought to be able to receive that profit. Don't mean we need to steal from people.
Value of your time. It's a value of your time.
Right. So I want to listen.
How you spent your time.
I want to listen to the mindset of the progressive, the Bernie Sanders type. Obviously, Barack Obama is going to say it. The Pelosi's, and I would even say that you're starting to get into some of these rhino Republicans. But listen to this audio from Barack Obama. I'm not sure exactly when this was, but he's talking about the American story of progress, and I want you to listen to how he distorts it in order to fit into his religion. Check this out.
I also believe in a higher principle, which is we're all in this together. That's the spirit that made the American economy work. That's what made the American economy not just the world's greatest wealth creator, but the world's greatest opportunity generator. And because you're America's future business leaders and civic leaders, that makes you the stewards of America's greatest single asset, and that's our people.
Okay, so first I want to mention this, and this is nuance, but it's important. that they are the stewards of the people. That is absolutely incorrect. Because they're much more than stewards of quote-unquote people. The people that work for corporations and companies and all that, they are resources. And I know this may sound, very insensitive and all that, but the bottom line is that no differently than you buy products for, let's say, that to stock the shelves in your store, or you're a construction company and you hire a company to provide you equipment to go dig a hole or use a crane to lift something. Those are resources, no differently than you getting a pipe fitter or a carpenter or something like that, or a plumber to go do this piece of business for you. They are a resource. That's why they call it human resources. So while they are a steward of people, quote unquote, they are a steward of resources, and they do not exist to create jobs. They exist to create profit, to create wealth, and the product of that profit and wealth is people that get jobs, that people have products, that the flow of money, the building of an economy. And so what say you, Susan? We got basically about 4 minutes left, so I want to make sure I get your comments on this.
Well, I'm really glad that Barack Obama is our former president.
Right.
And I really, I heard one thing on that tape, how he says we're a community, how we're, all a group together. This notion of communism is going to kill us. We have so much unfunded liability. It's in the trillions and trillions of dollars, what no one is talking about. It's not just the $20 trillion of debt. It's the unfunded liability, which is like 183 gazillion, trillion, the unfunded debt. And that's what is driving the notion of communism, of let's all work together. What the government is trying to do is to seize 1/6 of our economy. It already has done that with Obamacare, and to channel it through and to take off a percentage of it and manage our debts and manage our people and manage our health. We're going to end up, if we don't break the cycle of the establishmentarians, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, because there's a bunch in both sides, if we don't stop the takeover of our economy from the government, if we don't stop that, our country's going to crash. It's just, it's historically accurate. When we build up that much debt, look, if the government took everything, all of the United States, all of the private property and all of the business right now, it could not afford to pay the unfunded liability that exists. Our debts are bigger than the total sum of all of our companies and things.
Right. So,
and once they seize that, then they are worthless, because then everybody knows, hey, you already took my property once.
So
I'm not foolish enough to buy it again.
So let me ask you this, Susan. What is the main I guess you could say, product of government-run healthcare? What is it doing to our healthcare?
It's making it more expensive and harder to get.
Okay.
Government never creates jobs. It never creates anything. It just takes out money, and it creates longer lines. That's what government does.
So when it does that, what does it do to try to pay for that?
What does it do? Well, it raises taxes, of course.
Great.
Or fines or fees or something else.
Now I want to read a quote here. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to kind of twist it a little bit to kind of say it, and I want to tell you who said it. And you may know this, but the audience may not. The way to crush the rich is to grind them between milestones of taxation and inflation, right? Inflation of prices.
Yes.
So the taxation, inflation. So this is what happens. The rich have the power. That's what this mindset is. And in order to be able to take the power from the rich, we have to inflate prices and tax them to pay for the prices. So all they're doing is they're crushing them, right? And I'm going to change the word rich to a more early 19th century term called the bourgeoisie. The way they crushed the bourgeoisie is to grind them between the milestones of taxation and inflation. That is Vladimir Lenin that said that.
Yes, it is.
And so we are
the millstones, like millstones grinding flour very fine and wheat. The problem is it's Ayn Rand. At a certain point, What happens when Atlas shrugs? What happens when the millionaires and the billionaires say, I'm checking out, I'm out, I'm done, I'm not making it anymore?
So Atlas is shrugged, folks, and we are out of time. I want to thank you all for joining us on the battlefield. Make sure you check us out at lanterns.buzz. Make sure you like the Liberty Eagle as well as Lanterns Buzz on Facebook. Also, you can follow me at Paul Revere again and at Susan Swift, right, Susan? And we'll check y'all out tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Standard, 5 Pacific. Talk to you later. Tater.